brings us to general business. And our first item on general business is Tualatin Moving Forward, our fourth annual report. And I'm assuming there he is. Mr. McCarthy, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah, so while Mike pulls up the presentation, I was just going to make a few opening remarks. We are thrilled to present our fourth annual report associated with the $20 million transportation bond program known as Tualatin Moving Forward. I want to take a step back to 2018, and there were three things that were really important, kind of our true north. One, this was single focused. It was all about transportation. Two, we wanted to make sure that the entire elected body was supportive, and we spent a long time talking about the what number we were going to go for, whether it was some wanted a little bit higher, some wanted a little bit lower. So there was a lot of discussion, but it was really important that all 7 councilors got on board and could support it. And then the third thing was that it was community driven. This wasn't something that staff sat around thinking up ways to, or projects. These were projects that were generated from the community. Those three things have been guiding principles throughout and really remain to this day and throughout the entire program. So being a community-driven program and with a commitment to maintaining your support and the community's support, we work really hard to share information regularly. This is our fourth annual report, which is, of course, in the title, but this will be mailed to every address here in Tualatin, the actual report, which is an attachment in your packet. In addition, we present quarterly reports. We've done 3 bus tours, 2 of them virtual, and have a robust web presence and social media efforts and just community engagement efforts throughout all of this. I want to call out our fantastic team led by Mike McCarthy. And with that, I will turn this presentation over to Mike to present our report.
Well, thank you, Sherilyn, and good evening, Mayor and councilors. It's a pleasure to be here and present this report. And we've had another really good year, and I'll keep knocking on wood because it's been really wonderful. And we are excited with how things are working, except for the advancing the slides here. There we go. All right, so it's our 4th annual report, and we're getting to an exciting time in the program where we're really seeing things on the ground and really seeing, things happening. So I think when we put this together, the idea came to call this the best year yet. And then we're also going to highlight some projects that are coming up just around the corner. And then our next quarter report will be in the spring of 22. And then people can always check out our website at tualatinmovingforward.com to see more about what's happening. And this updated version of the report is on the website as well. So we've had a really good year. And a lot of great things have been happening, including opening up the Garden Corner Curves project. We've completed 6 projects, including Garden Corner Curves, and then some other smaller ones we'll talk about. We've got 14 more underway, including a few that are in the construction stages, and several more coming that we're working on for next year and in 2023. Still working with the same program management team, where we have a team led by Murray Smith, designing most of the projects, and then Alta Planning Design working as our owner's representative, and Alta and Barney and Worth working together on public information, and particularly getting out and listening to the community and talking with people about what they want and what needs can we address. As Sherilyn mentioned, that's the big North Star of the program, is listening to the people. So here's our updated project map. And I'm excited to see how much green we have on the map now. The green is projects that are completed and open to the public and being used. So it's really exciting. To include Garden Corner Curves, Hazelbrook and Jurgens, Sagert and 72nd, Boone's Ferry, the downtown area over here, a number of other Boone's Ferry down by Arapahoe, and a number of other projects that have been completed this past year. We had the Garden Corner Curve celebration, and I thought it was just amazing how well things came together there. I'm really excited with how the project came out. I think we were blessed to have a really good design team on that, led by Wallace Engineering, and a really good contractor in MEI, and some really good guests with the marching band, who I thought were wonderful. And my kids were there and enjoyed that, and they are now showing a lot more interest in marching bands, as well as a number of great things. And I was really impressed with the video that John Carsaboom from the Garden Corner Nursery put together about the project, and really talking about how much he liked it. So that was just wonderful to see right then. And so you've got the new, safer, multi-use path. It's a place to walk. And it's great to actually get out and walk the corridor now. Whereas it was one of the areas that I was really scared as someone who works on streets. There are certain places where it's just really scary to work, and you end up just sprinting one place to another just to take your measurements or whatever you need to do. And to now have a good place, that's been working out great, along with our pedestrian activated beacons, a lot of enhanced crosswalks, the driver feedback signs to kind of help people monitor their speed, especially as they're approaching the sharpest curve. And then all the work in the creek to improve the culvert and restore that and treat stormwater before it enters the creek as well. So that's been just exciting to see that one built and done. We've completed several other projects around the city, including this one at Sagert and 72nd, where we had an existing crosswalk. It's across a fairly busy street with people driving fairly quickly. And we added in the flashing beacons, and we had to redo the ramps to meet ADA requirements for having the flashing beacons there. And I find that that's really helpful in getting drivers to stop when you're trying to cross the road. And those have, I think, made a big difference. And we see a lot of people crossing there now, as well as farther down the block at Wampanoag. We see a lot of people crossing there as well, and it's great to see how much those are being used. And several more that we've completed this year. So out at 95th and Avery, that project, is more of an area project around Tualatin Elementary School. So we are just finishing up the new crosswalk at 93rd and Avery, which is the direction that we found the most kids were walking to the school from. So we have a new crosswalk there with flashing lights to help kids get to school, and then a new always stop at the 95th and Sagert intersection, which we're finding is really helping a lot of the issues that we've seen there. Tualatin Road, Sweet Drive, the community park. So this is right in front of the police station. The first phase is now substantially complete. The contractor's working on some final punch list and cleanup items. That includes flashing lights at that crosswalk, redoing the sidewalk in front of the police station so it's no longer buckled and waved from tree roots. Phase 2 on that is coming, and actually was on the consent agenda to award the construction contract. And that will improve the sidewalk from that crosswalk over to the railroad crossing. And that phase 2 took a longer to develop because of the need to work things out with the railroad, just how it approaches there. We also added new flashing lights on Boone's Ferry near the green lot, or crossing from the Commons to the Pole Center. And then Boone's Ferry Road at just a little south of Arapahoe, added flashing lights there as well. And that's a new, fairly innovative design that includes streetlight heads with the crosswalk. And they're solar powered and enable us to put that in quite a bit more efficiently, and allows the crosswalk to be illuminated, which is really important for safety, particularly this time of year when people are crossing at 5 o'clock, but it's dark. And then some more flashing lights on Hazelbrook and Jurgens, and a new crosswalk there. And Nyberg Lane near 57th Avenue, some improvements that we heard a lot about from the community to try to reinforce to people that they need to stop at those stop signs and work for safety of pedestrians that are trying to cross to Browns Ferry Park. Now we're still working on Martinazzi and Sagert. And this is what it looked like at least a couple weeks ago when we took our last pictures. We are soon hoping to see the traffic signal heads coming in here with the mast arm poles. Unfortunately, the signal heads and some of the key electronics that go into the kind of the guts of the controller that control the traffic signal gotten delayed with the global supply chain issues. So unfortunately, we're looking about February or March before we'll be able to actually get the signal in and turned on. It does include some new crosswalks and widen the road out for a much better bike lane and to make the lanes more normal width. That'll be coming in early 2022 when we end up putting in the signal and restriping there. And we've had some wonderful artwork that's been getting installed, and the south side of Sagert Street actually works out to be a great little walk now because it includes more than 10 of the different stamps that we've been using. Here's some examples. The happy deer, and then this unnamed is vegetables, descriptions of them being yummy, and a very interesting design in here in this fish. And they've been installed at each of the projects where we've had new concrete going in. And I've been real excited about it. And we've seen a lot of community excitement about it. And hearing from some of the artists about how exciting it is to see some of their work in place. And we're also out talking with the people quite a bit, getting ready for what we're planning to build over the next couple of years. So this photo is from out along Boone's Ferry Road. I think we're out just near Blake and Alcea, and really asking people, what do you want to see? And how would you want us to improve this? So we're working on conceptual design for a project along Boone's Ferry to fill in sidewalk and bike lane gaps from just south of 12th and Sherwood Road all the way down to our southern city limits. And a lot of what we've been hearing is really fix up the existing pathways, and particularly places where they're bumped by tree roots, and then fill in some of the short sidewalk sections and some minor widening to add pavement and bike lane where we need it. And then hearing about some crosswalks and some other issues there. So more to come in a couple months on kind of what we've heard from the public and how we can address the issues in a more specific project design. And then some more of what we're working on. These are the new, or at least 5 of the proposed neighborhood traffic safety projects to be built next summer. Short sidewalk section along Avery, new flashing beacons at the Martinazzi Mohawk, across Martinazzi Avenue at Mohawk. And then a project in the Stone Ridge neighborhood. And then improving Martinazzi near the Fred Meyer driveway, and trying to help people walking across the Sagert Bridge. I know we talked about this a couple months ago when we presented those to you and included the map that Cheryl had mentioned about some of the transit needs around the city. And a lot of these projects happen to be in those areas. And then one more that's proposed in the next slide is on Boone's Ferry near downtown, flashing lights at those crosswalks there. And here's our report card of, it's an annual report, so we had to have quite a bit of numbers in here. And each of the projects that have been finished, the estimated cost of how much we spent on them as we finished, and then the ones underway, what we think it will be by the time we get to those being finished, and a few of the ones that we're planning to start in the future. And then if you added up these numbers very closely, you realize that it's actually more than 20 million, and actually totals more like 24 million. And we had some really good news that I think Don Hudson, are you on the call here and able to share that?
I am here.
All right.
So I get the honor of throwing more money at you and explaining why. So you remember, so we sold these $20 million worth of bonds back in August of 2018. And so I'm here tonight to kind of remind you of the good news that we were able to share with you right after that bond sale. It was a good time to go into the bond market. And because we're an attractive risk, we were able to sell the bonds at a premium, which meant that the investors were willing to pay more upfront for those bonds in order to have higher rate of return in the later years. So we actually brought in about $23 million worth of project funds. We had almost a $3 million premium when we sold those bonds. And so that added another $3 million worth of project funds available. And we've been investing those monies. So you may recall that in my investment reports or my quarterly financial reports, I talk about our investment returns, and we've been able to maintain, even in this current market, a reasonable rate of return. And so those idle funds that aren't going out to the projects right away are invested. We've brought in to date about $1.2 million in investment earnings. We will continue to invest those funds, and obviously as we're spending more of that, then we have less to invest, but we anticipate that number will also continue to grow a little bit. It's about right now about $14,000 a month that we bring in, and that'll decline as the market's changing, but also as we spend funds and have less idle. So the really good news is, out of a $20 million bond sale, we are sitting here with a total of about $24 million worth of funds available to spend on these wonderful projects that the team has put together and spending out on our transportation needs.
Thank you, Don. And then the graph here shows how much was spent out of those 24 million. And we've had a number of expenses from this summer that are still just working their way through the process. So by the time we pay all the bills from this summer, we'll be up at about actually 12 million in spent funds. So about halfway through what we have. And we've been getting some really good positive news coverage about it and positive feedback in the community. Here's a number of the stories that have been coming in, and it's been wonderful to see things that are positive and the community just really appreciating what we're doing and people seeing the value and the practical solutions that we're trying to identify to what we hear when we listen to the people. And so we have all this information in English, and as well, we also have it in Spanish. And I'll start with a Spanish language video.
Hola, hoy queremos compartir con ustedes una breve actualización sobre el programa de transporte de la ciudad de Tualatin llamada Tualatin Avanzando. Este programa es pagado por una medida de bono de $20 millones aprobado por los votantes en mayo del 2018. Hasta la fecha, 20 proyectos han sido construidos por todo alrededor de la ciudad y 14 proyectos más están en progreso. Usted puede haber visto alguno de estos en su vecindario. Por ejemplo, cruces peatonales más seguros con faros destellantes, señales que muestran la velocidad a los conductores, nuevas señales de tráfico, mejores aceras, rampas para discapacitados y líneas de bicicleta. Dos de nuestros proyectos favoritos completados este año son el proyecto Garden Corner Curves en la avenida 105, Blake Street y la avenida 108, terminados de construir después de 2 años. Y luces peatonales ahora operando en los cruces en la calle Sagert y la avenida 72, cerca de la escuela Horizon Christian School. Otro proyecto que le puede ser familiar será completado la siguiente primavera en una de las intersecciones más concurridas de Tualatin. Este será reconstruir la intersección en la avenida Martinazzi y la calle Sagert e instalar una nueva señal de tráfico ahí. ¡Qué fantásticas noticias!, ¿verdad? Y este trabajo seguirá mejorando la seguridad de los cruces peatonales en la avenida 95 y la calle Avery, cerca de la escuela Tualatin Elementary. Si usted quiere aprender más acerca de esos proyectos, puede ir en línea a tualatinmovingforward.com. Muchas gracias. Se despide su amiga Betsy Rodríguez Roof.
I think I also have to clap for Betsy on that. I thought that was great. And we're all aware that you're monitoring the progress, and I think it was fun to do the bus tour. And I sure hope next year's tour is in person rather than virtual, but we'll see what happens when we get there. And any questions or discussion?
Can you stop presentation mode and
Stop sharing there.
There we go. Thanks, Mike. Questions?
Thanks. I'll bring it back up for a couple more slides right at the end, but it's our discussion time.
Councilor Pratt.
It's just been the greatest project, and it's kind of nice to have bragging rights. Something I didn't do a whole lot on. But I just appreciate that this whole project has been focused on safety, and it's great. And I was wondering if we could change our city motto to "We are an attractive risk" for Dawn.
Love that phrase.
Yeah. My question, and I don't know if there's an answer to this, but it's so great you're doing that, the improvements by Fred Meyer, but as soon as you get onto Fred Meyer property, if you're coming off Martinazzi and I know it's their property, but it's really unsafe for pedestrians because there's a little dirt path, but there's no sidewalk or anything, and it's where all the cars are turning in and out, and it's super dangerous. And is there anything we can do to help entice them to make that improvement? I mean, it's really a safety hazard, and there's a lot of people that walk there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think we will see what we can do. I think part of our project is try to help make it easier to cross to the north side of the driveway, and there's a little bit more of a walkway in from there.
Okay.
But we can try to work with Fred Meyer because there's definitely room for improvement there.
Yeah, and there's a bus stop right there too. So
yeah,
I just every time I go there, I kind of have a concern, but I understand it's private property. But anyway, thank you very much.
But we are working with TriMet on that bus stop and ways that might be improved as well.
Other questions for Mike? Councilor Reyes.
Mike, thank you very much. It was really nice, and like Councilor Pratt said, it gives us some pride and bragging rights about our city. Does that? And I know this might have been discussed earlier or way back when the bond was out there, but does it include also street lights? There's not just. I mean, I know we're doing a lot of infrastructure, but sometimes adding just extra street light will just lighten up a little bit and then make it brighter, especially, Oregon, it's pretty dark in in the winter. So, or repairing, I know somehow PGE works with us on that, but I just thought about that's also a way of safety, even though it might not be like widening. I know you talked about the bridge right there on Sagert. That maybe sometimes street light will help a little bit, so we are able to see walkers or bike riders, because sometimes you can't. It's not so much that you just can't see them because it's dark, and we tend to wear a lot of dark clothes too in the winter here. So just wondering.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's some of the things we're looking at with some of the projects coming up. With the one in the Stone Ridge neighborhood, that's one of the things we've heard from already is desire for better lighting. Mm-hmm. And there's some lights in there, but I think we can add a bit more. I like the suggestion of the Sagert bridge as well. And so that's something we're looking at with each of them.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mike? Councilor Sacco.
Not really a question, but I did use the new garden corner curves a couple weekends ago when I went for my run, and it was amazing. It was the first time I was ever able to run that section of Tualatin, so that was really exciting. And then I also just wanted to express gratitude for creating that informational video in Spanish for Spanish-speaking community. I just am really proud of our community for doing that. And so thank you for taking that extra step. I think that's amazing.
Great. Well, thank you. And really thankful for the team that put it together. And I thought Betsy did a great job with it.
She's very enthusiastic.
Very clear too. It's super. Betsy did a really good job with, getting the message across really clearly. So I like that. Thank you.
Great.
Other questions for Mike? I've just got one on the Sweek project phase 2. You're mentioning fixing the sidewalks in front of the police department. There's that section in front of the Tualatin Heritage Center. The corner there, some of the sidewalks there are also buckled. Is that included in the project?
That's actually not right now because the phase 2 goes from the crosswalk to the park.
Okay.
So it's in front of the dentist office and the vet clinic. And that'll be bringing the curb actually in towards the road and widening the sidewalk out.
But you mentioned you were redoing the police sidewalk.
The one in front of the police station has been redone.
Yeah.
But
It's been redone. Okay. Because I've gotten a couple comments from the folks at the Heritage Center. There's a section of the sidewalk there that's buckled, and it's towards the corner near the police department.
You can take a look at that and see what we might be able to do.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Mayor, when I had, I got a complaint about that as well and forwarded that along to Bert Olheiser for the annual sidewalk program.
Okay.
So I know that it is on his radar as well.
Okay. Thank you. Because, our senior residents who walk in the Heritage Center, I don't want someone tripping and stuff there because it's a little bit of a buckle there. So, and it's a popular place for meetings and stuff for smaller meetings right now. And when we had the Heritage Center, the Historical Society had their auction, a couple, 3 folks came up to me and talked to me about it. And I'm passing it on since it popped up here during this discussion.
Okay, so it's particularly right along Sweek between the Heritage Center building and the road?
In the corner. Yeah, between the Heritage Center and the corner near the police department, there's a section that's a little bit buckled. But it sounds like Bert's on it, so if you want to talk to Bert.
Yeah, I'll talk with Bert and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Mike? I appreciate you, Mike, taking over the baton from Jeff Fox on this. You're doing a great job on this, and we appreciate your effort as well as the whole team. Thanks for doing this.
All right. Thank you very much. There's a couple more slides to share here right at the end.
All right.
And so we can check everything out on the website, tualatinmovingforward.com. And that's all been updated with the current information. And the Garden Corner Nursery's chickens, I think it provided us with a classic question to end this presentation on. The old, why did the chicken cross the road? And now we could say it's because there's a pathway on the other side.
Yep. We noticed those chickens that day, and we're like, hopefully those chickens realize cars are going to start coming through now. So this might not be the best idea coming in the future.
We had a similar concern. And at least from what I heard from John, they seem to have figured it out pretty quickly.
All right. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right.